This is Remix Report with your hosts, DJ JD and DJ J Spring.
Today's video brought to you by YourDJDrops.com, the nation's hottest DJ drops.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Remix Report. I'm DJ JD.
I'm DJ J Spring, and it's really just the craziest thing because every week JD has to plug into my wall that's on the side that you guys can't see, and I have my shoes there. And the first couple of times we did it...
They're all Adidas, in case you were wondering.
The first couple of times we did it, JD just like trampled all over them. So
I wouldn't say trampled. That's a little extreme.
So I kind of, and I take good care of my shoes. So I kind of spread it open, almost like the Red Sea. I gave him like a path. And I was like kind of excited about that. I wouldn't get my shoes stepped on anymore. But JD managed to took like the weirdest route. And like just still went all over the ones that I
just
moved.
went straight from the couch to the outlet. That's what I did.
I kind of thought I built you a nice path. But now I'm just going to have to either build like a rack on top of my ceiling that I can put them. Even then, I'd still be a little worried. Or just like totally move them in another room. I haven't decided yet.
Well, if you had any room on your floor for carpet and walking area instead of the whole carpet being taken up by Adidas, maybe that'd be a different story.
I'm going to have to do something. Because this obviously isn't working what I'm doing now. Anyway.
Obviously not.
Anyway, this is a Remix Report. We usually talk about DJ kind of stuff.
Where DJs talk shop, that's our motto.
And we usually start off doing this weekend recap by discussing where JD and I played this past weekend. So I'll let you start off first.
Sure. Friday night, I was at Shrine for the Friday Jam session. We've kind of been going back and forth almost every other week lately on Fridays there. And it was a pretty decent crowd.
You always seem that you always say that you get to play house a lot more than I do. They react much better when you play house than I do.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Well, like our friend John is afraid to play his housey remixes that he does on Thursdays because there's less people there, like maybe 100 people.
It's understandable.
I don't know. I play for maybe 75 people or 100 people on a lot of Sundays when we're at Shrine, and I play all those his remixes that he refuses to play, and they go over just fine when I play them. So I don't know. Teach their own, though. You know, I guess just kind of feel out the crowd the night of and see what will work the best. So yeah, I mean, to go back to our little trap conversation a little bit that we had on our last weekend recap, which if you missed that, definitely some interesting conversation. I went through a bunch of trap remixes early in the night that I had gotten, kind of found a couple that I wanted to play that night, and I played.
So you're just driven to prove me wrong is pretty much what happened.
A little. I won't deny that. So I ended the night with a little trap set. It was probably 10, 12 minutes long to end out the night, and honestly it went over really well. I played them pretty quick. I'd say like 30, 45 second clips in and out, just kept going. And I got a lot of compliments at the very end of the night when people walking out saying like, yo, what was that? That was crazy. Yo, where do I get that? Like a couple of those. So, and you usually don't get those on like a normal night. So just a little.
I have some thoughts. We'll discuss later on.
A little point there. Did a wedding on a Saturday night and got to use all my new uplighting together for the first time. I was under a tent, and I guess I'll probably show a little video of that now to give you an idea what it looked like.
That pause was for all the podcast people who last episode were wondering where this little music came from.
Yep. So yeah, the music was a little background to the uplighting video. So obviously, plain white tent, the light really reflects really well, and it really looked just really awesome. And definitely happy with the uplighting and looking forward to doing a lot more of that at events to come, because it really does add just a nice energy to the event. So.
It is kind of funny that I had no idea what you were talking about with uplighting. When you first mentioned it, I thought I didn't really understand why you wanted these light bulbs on the ground, but I've seen the pictures and they do actually look pretty nice.
If you'll notice in the video, instead of putting the lights on the actual ground, I clamped them to the top, like midway up the tent. So the top of the poles that are holding the tent up, pretty much like just above head height. So they were reflecting just on the top of the tent. And that worked really well.
It was the whole reflection part I didn't really understand. Do you remember our conversation?
Yeah.
I was like, why do you want to put a purple light on the ground? And you're going to put like 12 purple lights on the ground? People want this? I didn't really understand.
They do. And now that I have all these videos coming showing them in use, a lot more people seem to be interested. So it's good news. Then I was at Shrine on Sunday, and MGM had their pool party during the day, and I heard it was pretty slammed.
Was anybody? I think was Jay Free at the pool party this week?
I believe so. Yep.
Shout out to Jay Free.
Yep. And yeah, a lot of people from the pool party came and partied at Shrine after, so it was a really good Sunday, and definitely a pretty housey crowd there as well. So.
Christina Milian running around the casino that day. I saw one of the Shrine security guards said he got to meet Christina Milian.
I'm not sure. I did not get to meet Christina Milian.
Okay.
Unfortunately. So, how was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. I was at Scorpion Bar on Friday, and it was actually a very, very busy Friday. Was Shrine busy on Friday for you?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah.
Scorpion Bar was it was like almost a Saturday on Friday. Saturdays are crazy there. So, speaking of being able to play house, Scorpion Bar, I think we mentioned this before, you really just can't play too much house there. And one of our friends, shout out to Ryan O'Connell, joined me on stage, and he said, this crowd is so crazy, they must go nuts when you play house. And I said, watch this. And I played some house for him, and just everyone just kind of stood there. Like, not even one person was like reacting to it at all. It's the craziest thing. So no, house does not go over so well everywhere. Especially, I mean, Scorpion Bar is designed to be more top 40-ish. It started off as all rock and roll, which if the owners are watching, it still is all rock and roll.
We've got the okay to stray from that a little more.
A little bit.
So.
But yeah, so house doesn't go over too well there, even though I definitely tried.
I definitely surprised Ryan, right?
Yeah, definitely did surprise Ryan. Saturday, I picked up a last-minute gig. I had moved some stuff around from a wedding that got canceled. Remember that wedding that got canceled?
Yes.
So I moved something else around, and I had a empty slot, and I picked it up. I was at Hannafin's, which is kind of near Hartford, Connecticut. It's more of a kind of an Irish pub. I did it on St. Patrick's Day, and it was absolutely crazy. It was a little bit slower this past Saturday, but it was definitely made me play different kind of music there. So it's nice to do a gig like that every once in a while.
Definitely. Coming up this weekend is our big Paddy's Palooza that we've been talking about this summer.
It's the Paddy's Beach Music Fest. It's kind of like almost a New England music festival in a way.
And actually our friend Ryan that you were just talking about, he's the main promoter on the event.
Insight Events. I think After Dark is taking part in it as well, I believe. So it's going to be a pretty big thing. Paddy's
a lot of DJs. So
Paddy's is in Rhode Island, which is... So we're going to get a lot of the Rhode Island people who usually go to Shrine, as well as some Connecticut people. I know Jay Free is from the other side of Connecticut, so I'm sure he'll have some people rolling with him. So we're hoping some of our New England Remix Report viewers will join us there. We're going to be performing on Sunday. It's a Saturday-Sunday event. We're going to be on the 26th Sunday. We're going on last, I think, and we'll probably be spinning for about an hour and a half or so, maybe a little bit longer. So we're trying to put together a good set, and we're excited because we're not sure how many yet, but we're definitely going to be playing some of our remixes that we've been working on. This is the first time really anybody's going to get to hear them.
At least some rough drafts. They might not be 100% finished, but
that would definitely, obviously, if we play them, they're going to be playable.
Yeah.
So you guys will get to hear some of that. And I was thinking about this. I mean, you can say anything you want about our site, but we do deserve some credit for putting ourselves out there, because when we play you our remixes, especially when we give them out for download eventually, we're putting ourselves out there. We kind of made ourselves into a show where it is what it is. We do give some advice to other DJs, whether I'm sure there's some DJs who think we have no right to give advice, and there's others who are grateful for our advice. I'm sure people have a wide view on what we do here, but with that being said, if you are going to give any kind of advice on DJing, when you put out your own stuff, you better make sure it's kind of good. So hopefully you guys will like what we've been working on.
God, I hope so.
Or it could just ruin our whole reputation.
Remix report down the drain.
We start the acapella at the wrong time. Just
all that stuff. We're going to make all the mistakes.
That would be a good April Fool's joke if we put that out on April Fool's.
We did think about doing that, I think, last year.
Yeah, that would be. Well, no, you know what happened is you put out some picture of me online, that one that Joe had me breakdancing or whatever, the little jokey picture.
Oh, yes.
I thought about in the Weekend Weapons, without telling you, making the worst remix I can make in 5 minutes and putting it out as your name. Making it, the whole key was, for anybody out there who's ever thought about doing any kind of prank,
that would have been good.
Music related, well, it would have been good, but I didn't want to hurt your DJ career. For anyone who's ever thought of doing any kind of prank, music related or not, the key is you got to be able to sell it. In other words, if you're going to say that someone else did something, it can't be so ridiculous that everyone knows that person obviously didn't. Like, I was going to make it somewhat believable. It was going to be worse. Everything was going to be just slightly off, and it wasn't going to be like absolutely stupid. People might have believed that you just got a little lazy and for whatever reason you thought this was acceptable. That reminds me, when people do Facebook pranks, the first thing everyone says is, I'm gay, when they take over someone's Facebook page, or they say something stupid like that, and everyone goes, oh, obviously this person got hacked. There are some stupid people who actually comment and they go, oh, did you get hacked? Obviously the person got hacked. And it reminded me of when someone recently hacked the Yankees website.
Did they really?
Yeah, and they wrote something about Derek Jeter that was just silly. Obviously it wasn't believable.
That's
Everyone
awesome.
knew it got hacked. If the person had said something more like, we regret to inform you, or not we regret, but Blockbuster News, Derek Jeter has been traded to the Cardinals for Chris Carpenter, or something that was like somewhat believable, even though it would be shocking, that's the way you got to do it. So take that.
That'd get picked up by like major press, actually, probably, and they'd just run with it. That'd be insane.
So that's the whole key, is being believable if you're going to do a prank like that.
So hopefully our remixes that we play this weekend will be believable.
And how bad would it be if people watch this episode and then they hear our remixes, they're like, oh, that's a prank. That's a prank. Like, no, dude, that's
maybe that'll work in our favor.
Those are the real ones. You didn't like them? So we'll see.
So that's this Sunday at Musquamicut Beach. Easy for me to say. Paddy's Beach Palooza. So there's probably like 5 other DJs besides us
on that
Sunday.
Yeah, and then there's another 5 or 6.
Shout out to Richard Fraioli, who's headlining the
Saturday party.
Saturday
you get into
party.
the next thing, I want to read off all the DJs we're going to be, so we don't forget anybody.
Good idea. So while you're doing that, let me just remind everybody that we do have Remix Report available as an audio-only podcast. You can get it on the iTunes store, or for any podcast application you may have. If you have like a program like Downcast or the podcast app on your iPhone or Android phone, you can get it through there. Just search Remix Report, and hopefully that gives you the ability to listen in your car when you're driving to your gig, home from your gig, or whatever. A little different than having to watch the video. So.
Like when I asked Vibe if I was too quiet on the podcast, he said he just tunes me out. Here's the lineup for Paddy's Palooza. Richard Fraioli, Vinny Vibe, Joey G, DJ Divine, and Don Dada will be performing on Saturday the 25th.
That's from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
And then this guy, myself, DJ Costa. Can you pronounce his last name? I apologize.
Chianji.
Is that how you pronounce it? I've always said it wrong. Chianji. And I know Jason May will be there too as well. Jay Free and Vito Corleone
on Sunday. Yeah, so it's definitely a dope lineup. If you're interested in seeing some of the dopest New England DJs, definitely come out, check it out. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I think I owe Vito apology as well, because I think I've called him Corleone before on the show.
Corleone. Oh, sorry, Vito. Well, because we did last week's recap so late in the week due to the DJ Expo, there's not a whole lot of new news that has come out over the weekend. So we do have a few discussion topics to talk about.
Stuff we've never talked about before. This whole button pusher argument. we thought we should offer our point of view today.
Yeah. Yeah, there have been a few quotes that we've come across this week on the whole button pusher debate. And
I thought the dead mouse thing wouldn't die. This is not going to die.
Yeah. So the first is from Ash, who is Avicii's manager. This was taken from Vegas7.com. Ash said, they don't know what they're talking about. Don't they push fucking buttons? What else are they going to push? They don't just press play and stand there for 2 hours. They interact. It's like saying a pianist is a key pusher. Which I think, interesting take. I mean, obviously, you have CDJs. There's not a whole lot on there except for buttons. I mean, he has a point there. Obviously, that's not exactly what the whole argument is about, but... So that was on the button pusher thing.
Let's just say what A-Trak had a quote on his Twitter where he said, nowadays a dude makes a hit song and gets booked as a DJ. Who's to say a good producer will be a good DJ? A lot of them suck. And, I mean, that kind of goes along with this whole thing.
It goes along with, I mean, all these guys who are good producers, they spend a lot of time in the studio. They've honed their craft on producing. They make a hit song, and then all of a sudden, clubs want to book them because they want them to be in the club live playing the song to draw a crowd, and so they end up taking up DJing as the only real method they have to get out there and play in a club and make that good money that you can make in a club. Only they have no experience doing that. They're great producers, not great DJs, and I mean, unfortunately, a lot of them learn by trial by fire. I mean, there's some guys who one of their first performances, like in the first 6 months of them DJing, is Ultra Music Festival in front of a couple 100,000 people. I mean, how insane is that? That's just ridiculous. You have no DJ experience, yet you're booked for one of the largest music festivals in the world within 6 months of having a hit song. I mean,
you just had your picture taken with a female DJ who did that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who's that?
You don't remember having your picture taken with her at the music conference in AC?
I don't know. It all is such a blur.
Paris Hilton?
Yes, the cutout of Paris Hilton. That's very true.
This what A-Trak said kind of brings us into what Diplo said as well, because he kind of disagrees. He thinks anybody can be a DJ.
Yeah, he says being a DJ is pretty bullshit. I'm lucky I can produce records too, because DJs don't do shit. They just fucking play records. Usher's trained to dance. Justin Bieber had to train 24 hours a day to be a performer. What I do is pretty simple. It's a good time to be a DJ and make good money, but you definitely can't have an ego doing this shit because it's not that cool.
I agree with half of what he said. I agree with the whole part about we're lucky.
Absolutely.
And very lucky to be able to work with music for a living.
And we shouldn't have an ego just by playing music.
I agree with that too. I mean, look at people's Facebooks, your non-DJ friends. They're always posting music. In other words, everybody pretty much is into music and loves it and thinks about it.
We just get to do it for a living.
Yeah, we do it for a living, and it's something that most people look at as leisure, and we get to work with that leisure for a living, which, I mean, we obviously do have to take it more serious than they do. And if you're going to do something for a living, you better take it more serious than people who do it for leisure. But I don't know how I feel. This is it's not quite as bad as what deadmau5 said about DJs on that Wikipedia quote that we had from a few years ago, that DJs are just the fucking middlemen and could definitely do without them. But Diplo doesn't look at us in a much different light. My question to Diplo would be, if you think that DJing takes no skill and it's that simple, if you replaced all the DJs in the world with everyone else who likes music, who's never DJed before, you really think there would be like no difference? Like, it's just, you could just like jump up and do it? That's almost how he makes it seem.
And I think he's more making the point that, I mean, like you said, Usher trained for years to dance as well as he does. Bieber also. I mean, they've trained long, hard, grueling days, months, years to be at the top of their game. Where most DJs, though, you can play in a decent club without having to practice DJing for 8 hours a day for like 3 years straight. And if you want to be a dope battle DJ, be in the DMCs and do that kind of stuff, yeah, you do gotta have that work ethic and practice like that. And I'm sure he's not talking about that kind of DJ.
Here's the fallacy with his point. is that he brings up Usher and Bieber, who are two of the top people at their craft. If you name your neighbor, who's a 13-year-old girl who dances, she doesn't do it all that much either, and either does every DJ. So if you're going to compare Usher and Justin Bieber, you might as well compare them to the top DJs in the game, and those top DJs definitely do practice that much. Yeah. So,
well, I think he might also be saying that I know a lot of DJs that don't practice that much and are playing in decent clubs, but definitely don't practice as much as Usher or Bieber. They do have egos as if they were Usher or Bieber without putting the work in to justify it.
With any craft, there's bad people, there's good people, there's people who have egos, people who don't. There's DJs out there, and this is just any craft. It's like police officers, there's good ones, there's bad ones, anything. I'm sure there's DJs out there who've killed people before. There's definitely lawyers who've killed people before. There's priests who have killed people before. It's any craft. There's good ones and there's bad ones. So Absolutely. When you point at a certain people and try to stereotype them as the whole thing, it's usually not the best idea to do. Very
true. There's an article on In the Mix where that Diplo quote was taken from as well. InTheMix.com. This is about doing remixes for pop artists, and you had a little commentary on.
Well, this is something we've been saying for a little while now on the site. It's tougher for me lately to play some of the same style of mixes that I used to play 6 months or a year ago, which were like the bootleg kind of style where people just attach a hard electro part to a pop song. Because why would I want to go that route now when all the big house electro DJs, producers are making official versions of the song? I don't need the bootleg anymore in a lot of cases because Laidback Luke is doing a remix, Afrojack is doing a remix, Gregor Salto was doing a remix. Pretty much every I shouldn't say every, but Porter Robinson is the one we're going to talk about who doesn't want to do these, even though he did. Did he do Lady Gaga, Edge of Glory? Did Porter Robinson do? I think he might have done the one that we put on our CD before. I'll have to check that out. Yeah. But you read his quote, and as usual, I'll go on my laptop.
Yeah, Porter Robinson said, I've had a bunch of AAA act pop stars, such as Katy Perry, ask me to work with them, but I'm not interested.
Why is Katy Perry AAA? That infers she's not major leagues? Is that what he's saying?
No, he's saying AAA is the highest. Double A is less. A is less.
Normally, most people refer to major leagues as the highest. But okay.
Yeah. Obviously, he doesn't follow baseball.
Okay.
He says it's a surefire way of damaging your credibility, and I just don't think it's inspiring. I want to make stuff that I enjoy, so I won't produce anything else for now. So he's definitely taken the purist route, the house purist route, and you can't really blame him. I mean, he's what, like 20 years old, I think. He's already been on tour with Tiesto, opening for huge DJs, becoming a huge DJ in his own right.
Language is just a huge song.
And
he did do a remix to Katy Perry, I'm sorry, Lady Gaga, Edge of Glory.
All right. So, I think he's definitely trying to limit that, is what he's saying.
I haven't seen Avicii do many. He did the Madonna one. I wouldn't really call that maybe she was aiming for it to be a big pop song, but it wasn't really.
Yeah. Chris Lake had a little different view on this. He said, if you can do it, then why not? A lot of times I have the attitude of I never know how long I'm going to be in this industry for. If I get offered a remix for Kylie Minogue, I feel like if I look back 10 or 15 years from now and think I missed the opportunity to remix one of the biggest pop stars in the world, that just wouldn't be good. If I get offered the chance to remix someone I'm very interested to take... If I get offered the chance to remix someone, I'm very interested to take it on and create something unique. Sorry.
This goes to something that we've talked about many times, and it's always the way people perceive music because of stuff that's going on around them and who else likes the stuff and versus the actual music itself. And it's there's never really a clear-cut answer to whether to what's right and what's wrong here, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely see Chris Lake's point of view too. I mean, yeah, if you were offered to remix a huge artist, even Madonna, like Avicii did, I mean, why? If you're Avicii, how are you going to turn down Madonna? I mean, that's someone.
See what Porter Robinson is saying is that what if I remix the song that's played out, even though I think the song's good, I think it's good music. If not everyone else feels the way I do, they might view me differently. It's all about perception.
Yeah, I think obviously Porter Robinson is still really young in his career and wants it to be a long career. I think he doesn't want to go the pop route and get burnt out and be just some DJ that gets played out really quick. He wants to have a long career and stick probably in the house genre specifically.
Do a lot of people look at Afrojack differently now that he's done some of these pop remixes or bingo players? I mean, look at everyone who's remixed Pitbull, "Give Me Everything Tonight." There was a lot of big names did that song.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't really see them seen all that differently.
Laidback Luke has done a lot of pop remixes lately too.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
Obviously, everyone looks at Guetta differently. He's like the most hated on. So maybe
he's done a ton of them though. I mean,
all the attention is on him, I think.
Yeah. All right, so let's revisit our trap discussion just a little bit.
I could talk about that.
Part of our whole discussion was based on a tweet by our friend Kevin Scott over at Direct Music Service, and luckily he came on and gave some more insight into his comments and the way he feels about the trap movement. So here's a little excerpt from what he wrote. If you want to see the whole thing, definitely go back to last week's Weekend Recap, and you can see it there. He said, "If you want to be real about the trap movement, I think it's fair to say it's the DJ's flavor of the month. I get it, but in reality, it's a fringe genre, like Moombahton, Be More, etc., that will have its moment in time of popularity before DJs move on to the next it thing. It's not as if crowds suddenly got into the genre and started requesting it all over the place. It originated with DJs and DJs only, and essentially we are pushing it down the crowd's throats to varying degrees of success. Above and beyond that, the primary reason I think EDM trap won't last long term is for the simple reason that they are primarily remixes and not original tracks. It takes original tracks that are hits for a genre to really flourish." And I think that's a very good point. I mean, I thought his relation of trap to Be More is very fitting, because just the choppiness of it.
And that's what C-Man wrote on his Twitter.
Yeah, kind of you can make like okay trap remix pretty easily in the Be More kind of style. If you made Be More back in the mashup days.
You can make trap.
Yeah. And I mean, Be More was, I don't know, added that extra bounce to a lot of songs that we were looking for to bring the energy up and give a different feel. And then we still play some of them today.
"Take Me Home Tonight" by the DJ Backdraft remix is a good example.
Yeah. And we still play some of those today, but there's not really a whole lot of new Be More.
Has anyone ever
out.
came up to you in the last 3 years and asked to hear Be More?
No. I mean, the only song I would say, there's a couple original tracks, Be More tracks that got popular, like Percolator a little bit, Samir's Theme, and that's, would you consider I'm the Ish Be More? And it has a Be More feel.
Technically it is, and technically, I mean, even Samir's Theme isn't really chopped up that much, is it?
Yeah.
All right. But I mean, Be More, that the question you're asking basically is something Be More if you just use a Be More beat?
Yes.
So, I mean,
not necessarily.
I'm sure DJ Class considers it Be More, and he probably knows more about it than we do.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm just saying that there were a few original tracks in that style that were hits, but definitely not enough to bring the genre mainstream. And I definitely think trap will probably have a similar arc in its life.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk a little bit about what I said last time and explain a little bit more, as Kevin had a chance to do here. I just want to say, basically, to sum up what I said in terms of being different and relating it to trap music is, I told you last week how I had kind of a new view on things about taking the approach of trying to be different as a DJ, and everyone's every DJ starting out dreams of being a big time DJ, and although I'm starting to get old now, I still have hopes of somehow breaking out of the mold. And obviously, doing what I'm doing on the path now, I can become I can have a good career, hopefully, but I'll never really break out and do anything more than that if I stayed on the path I'm staying on now. And that's why JD and I and our friend John Cardona are going to start producing some tracks and hopefully trying to take things to a different level. How far we'll go, it depends on how much work we actually put into it, and maybe a little bit of luck, and if we do a good job. But all of that kind of combined, we'll see how far we'll go with it. But as far as being different goes, when I say different, and I also say getting out of where we are now, I mean kind of evolving beyond open format. And because open format is, for the most part, limited, I think we can all probably agree that DJ Vice is probably at the top of open format DJs right now. I can't think of anyone else who, in terms of open, would you call A-Trak like open format? He's kind of
more like hipster kind of.
See, he's evolved. A-Trak is someone who's evolved beyond open format.
Yeah,
and that's everyone's goal, is to kind of probably become more than just open format. If I was the number one open format DJ in the world, or even top 50-ish, I'd hope to break beyond top 50. I'd say still have a ways to go, but I'd hope to break beyond that. If I'm in that area, I would definitely be happy. Don't get me wrong, I'd be very happy. If I was where DJ Vice is, I'd be the happiest guy in the world. But in terms of starting goal, there's nothing wrong with shooting high, and I'd probably like to again evolve beyond open format. And as far as trap goes and all these other fringe genres, as Kevin called them, like Moonbaton and Be More, unless you're one of the first people, the very first people to roll with it, and unless you're the first and you kind of dive just head on and just become that genre, you have a very, very little chance of ever breaking out of open format and riding that. And open format is kind of flowing with the trends. That if you're an open format DJ, that's what it means, is you pretty much play whatever's hot in the club scene. And if you want to evolve beyond open format, you can never do that if you just kind of are always constantly adapting to whatever the trends are, which for me, Jason, and where we are right now, as we are open format DJs, we have to do that. And I do understand that. But as far as if you're trying to make a move, which is what our whole goal of our production thing is, I think the best idea is to try to look beyond that. Because if you just try to roll with the trends and do remixes in those trends, you can stay where you are, or you can move up a little bit in the open format world, but you never evolve beyond that. That's my thought on it.
I think that's a fair assessment.
I said I was going to sum it up, but I kind of just went on for a while. I'm sorry.
I think that's a fair assessment because, yeah, if you're not one of the very first people to kind of get hip to the trend and don't dive headfirst into it as one of those early adopters, then yeah, the chances of success are very limited.
Now, look at people who do bootlegs. Like look at our friends, the Disco Fries, doing their bootlegs, for example. Their bootlegs are very well done. I don't necessarily think that doing bootlegs, especially for someone like Disco Fries who does a lot of original productions and remixes, I don't think doing bootlegs are going to advance them in their careers at all. I think they do those kind of just to keep their name out there, which is always a good thing. You always want to have your name out there. And that kind of maybe fills in the space between remixes and stuff. So them doing bootlegs is definitely a good idea. I don't think, and I think they might agree in some way. I mean, they always get new fans from when they do that kind of stuff, but I think they get their real fans, and I think they move up the most when they drop their original production remixes. So I think you can still do stuff like trap or even Be More or Moonbaton to keep your name out there. But as far as using it to advance you, relying on those fringe genres to advance you, I think that's not a good strategy.
I think that's a fair assessment.
So another thing I do want to add in, as far as you said you had success, and this is something I've talked about on the site before, it's so hard to gauge whether or not remixes work, particularly when they're done of a really, really hot song. For instance, I used to hate when people would come to me and tell me how great their remix of a hot song did at the club, because people cheered and they went crazy for it. They were going to do that no matter what. Especially if you imagine when Levels was at its peak. You did a remix of Levels, and it started off with just flat drums and explosion, and then the synths just came in, and then you did whatever you had to do after it. And you played it, explosion came, crowd just went nuts when the synths dropped. And then you just tell everybody, people went nuts for my remix of Levels. It's like, wait a second. They were going to go crazy no matter what. You played Levels and they went crazy, obviously. So I'm not saying you didn't do a good remix. I'm just saying it's very hard to tell if your remix is the reason why people went crazy. So, I mean, there's still people who go crazy when you play Moomba by Chucky, the Afrojack remix in the club. That's a dope song. I like that song. You like that song, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And people still react to that. That's a really hard-hitting song, too. And it has a very familiar bass line to it. So people go crazy. So if you play Munchie's version of Moomba, the trap remix, even though he did a very good job with the trap remix, it's still very hard to gauge if you get a little cheer from it, whether they're cheering for Moomba or they're cheering for the trap remix. Very tough to tell.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I would definitely say, it seemed to me when I played my little trap set at the end of Friday night that, and a lot of people, definitely the way they responded to the music was a little different. Like the way they moved obviously was different, because that's totally different feel, that halftime feel. It definitely seemed like people were interested in that aspect of it just by kind of gauging their reactions. But it's kind of hard to really say without going out there and like interviewing your audience at the end of the night. But like I said, I mean, I did have a couple people come up to me and seem pretty excited about the music at the end of the night.
I thought of some other trap songs that I've heard a while ago. I guess you could call them trap. I remember someone, I think it was a hip hop artist, did One More Time by Daft Punk, and they made that half tempo. I believe. Do you remember hearing that?
Yeah.
That was probably 3 years ago or so, 2 or 3 years ago.
At least, yeah.
I think someone did something with One by Swedish House Mafia, a hip hop artist, did something with that. So turning house stuff, making it different speeds is really nothing new. There's obviously the speed now that's most popular is 70 BPM. I'm just saying, if you hear something you like, don't wait till everyone else jumps on it before you start getting into it.
Yeah, if it sounds dope, play it. Add it to your set. Figure out a way to work it in. And yeah, hopefully you'll be that first person or early adopter who gets lucky enough to ride the wave. You know?
And it's cool to get inspired by, sometimes it takes hearing something new, for instance, hearing house at a different tempo, to say, you know what, that's awesome. I didn't think of doing that before. Maybe I can kind of take that and evolve it to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, use it to spark your creativity and get you to look at the music you're making or want to make in a different way.
Some people might call this jacking. I don't think this is jacking at all. I always use what other DJs do to get ideas. For instance, if you know a certain song blends. Lately we've been using In the Club. It's a typical hip hop song. In the Club by 50 Cent. You know a song blends good with In the Club, and you hear somebody else do something with another song over In the Club. You might say, you know what, song A that blended good with In the Club might blend good with the song that this other guy used within the club, since it's like that whole triangle. I don't know if you followed that. For instance, I always try to give DJ Cobra, he's out on the West Coast, I believe. I'm not sure if he moved. He was a big DJ out on the West Coast. I'm sure he's still doing his thing. I think I just read something about him recently. He was on Crooklyn Clan. And he did a blend where he took Aaliyah, One in a Million, and put it over the A Milli beat. And he did that, I want to say, it's been a while. It's probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And at the beginning of that blend, he used the Austin Powers A Milli, the sample that I used in my remix. And I would have never thought of doing what I did unless I had heard him use the $1 million from Austin Powers sample with the Milli beat. He did that and he threw Aaliyah over it. I thought about maybe it inspired me to think about chopping it up and doing what I did, but I would have never thought of that if DJ Cobra hadn't done that. So I can't shout him out enough, and I'm an open book. I will tell you how I got all my ideas, and I'm not embarrassed to say that that's where I got it from. I know I'm sure some people think I was just sitting down one day brainstorming for remixes, and I was like, oh, you know what would be cool? In one corner of my brain, I have Austin Powers, the movie, constantly playing, and I thought of a Millie, and I just thought of that in like 2 seconds. That's not exactly what happened.
No, a lot of us, I think, do get that creative spark from seeing something else, you know? Either whether that be another DJ or a song or watching something on TV, or you drive by a sign or a store, or you walk into a store and there's a song playing and you're like, damn, that'd be a dope song to remix, you know? I mean, there's so many methods to foster your creativity, and I think you just got to you got to run with them when it happens. So
I do constantly, if I'm listening to a song, especially if it's stuck in my head, I'll start messing, like tweaking with it in my head. I do that a lot, just kind of making different sounds. I don't know, I'm weird.
Tweaker.
Yeah.
You're a tweaker.
That's how we have that remix of a hip hop song that we're working on that we bring up to house speed, and that's kind of how I did that. I was just heard it on the radio one day, and I just kind of thought of different ways to play it. So.
And it worked.
I'm always trying to think of different things.
Yeah. All right, so I guess that's...
Well, we should mention that while we're on the subject of... we mentioned Kevin Scott and DMS, that I did just put up a mini mix.
Yes.
On DMS.
All reggae, right?
This one's... It's all hip-hop reggae. It's a lot of reggae on hip-hop beats, which is what I was really into when I first really started getting into music, when I was like 12, 13, 14. This is what I think of when... these are like some good boom bap kind of 90s hip-hop beats for the reggae. When I first got asked to do the mix, the last one I did, 30-minute, it's not really a lot when you get down to it. And I had all these old school songs that I wrote down, and then after I added the first 4, I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to be able to fit all these into 30 minutes. I wanted to do hip-hop and reggae last time, but I ended up just doing hip-hop, so this time I just did the reggae. And again, these are fun, as we mentioned last time. We don't really do these so much because we're gonna be able to hand these out at the beach and stuff, and everywhere we DJ. This is for the DJs and people who like good music. And I definitely had fun. I'm sure you had fun doing yours as well. Yeah. This is stuff that I never get to make these mixes anymore.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to checking it out. So I'm sure we'll have a link to that on the blog. So keep an eye out for that. Let us know what you think about this whole trap movement.
More on everybody who responded last time. We got a lot of comments. And
tweets. a lot of great comments and tweets. So definitely appreciate that. And let us know what you think down there in the comments, or email us at remixreport@gmail.com.
remixreport.com